lane splitting, or maybe we can call it lane filtering. It is the easiest way of learning around the city, avoiding getting stuck in traffic with a motorcycle, sneaking through and saving a lot of time for you to run errands. However, it is the easiest way of you ending up in a hospital bed with very serious injuries, ending up on a wheelchair with permanent injuries, or in a graveyard. When we talk about lane splitting, we are talking about you riding your motorcycle in between moving vehicles to avoid staying behind them, getting stuck in traffic with vehicles, which is also not very safe. Being in traffic with vehicles is not also very safe. The difference between lane splitting and lane filtering is, lane filtering, you do not run more than 10 kilometers per hour above the average speed of the moving traffic. If vehicles are running at 10-15 kilometers an hour because the traffic is quite slow, you're not running above 25. Get this well. If the moving traffic, the normal moving traffic, is around 10-15 kilometers an hour, you with a motorcycle, filtering in between them, you're doing a maximum of 25 to 30 kph. Again, you do not filter through a traffic that is moving above 30 kph. If vehicles are running above 30, do not filter between them. Don't get yourself in between the lane when vehicles are running above 30 kph. Because if they are running above 30, maybe 40, you give it another extra 10, you'll be doing around 50. And 50 kph is too much speed. Too much speed being in between moving vehicles. The highest speed you're doing safely is 10 kph above what the other people are doing. If vehicles are running at around 10-15, if you're doing 20-25, you will be very safe. If anybody tries to change lane, trying to do anything, you will be able to see them. If vehicles stop for some reason, you will have that space for you to stop safely. But if you're doing above 40, 45, 50 kph, trust me, you will not be able to stop in such a speed where you will be safe. Again, if a driver tries to change lane without indicating, you will not have time to see it and to react. So, lane filtering is what we should be discussing as motorcycle riders. Lane filtering. Traffic is at stop, completely standstill. You're there in between them, trying to sneak, looking for safe space. You stop here, you take this, change lane at least 10-15 kph. That is very safe. Even if a driver shifts position, you will be able to see them and stop right before they hit you. If a pedestrian was just recklessly walking in the highway, which happens a lot of times, you will be able to see them and stop right in time. But if you're doing quite some high speed In between vehicles, you do not have the luxury of seeing who is moving, which direction they are moving. You will not. And when you're doing speeds above 40 kph in between vehicles, what you're doing is lane splitting. That's not lane filtering, that is called lane splitting, and it is quite suicidal. Lane splitting, quite suicidal. A lot of motorcycle riders have gotten themselves in very serious trouble because of that behavior. You're learning in between moving vehicles at some speed where if anything goes wrong, you do not have the luxury of learning away. You're just stuck there. You're putting yourself in a situation where you are at the mercy of the drivers. One thing I want you to understand is that when drivers get stuck in traffic, they will always look for something to keep themselves busy. And these days, social media is the weapon of choice. Someone is watching some TikTok videos, YouTube videos, and they are still driving. And they are feeling very safe because they are driving at 5, 7, 10 kilometers an hour. They feel very safe. But when they realize there is a space on the other lane, they will shift without notifying anyone that they are shifting. Others will even let go the steering wheel because they trust the technology so much, and now they are reading newspapers. This one happens with the high-ranking working class individuals, the corporate individuals, the people who drive Mercedes-Benz, BMWs, the people who drive Prado TX, Range Rovers, Land Cruiser 200 VX, that class. These are people who read newspapers while driving. They want to be informed, they want to catch up with what is going on in the country. And they are driving. And there you are, learning like a ghost in between them at 60 kph. Then the vehicle shifts position slowly without them noticing. The vehicle is shifting direction according to where the steering wheel was, the last position the steering wheel was. So the vehicle is shifting position slowly, and the gap you had in between this vehicle and this vehicle is getting closer and closer and closer. And at some point, they will cross that gap completely. So you're landing at 60 kph in between vehicles on a dual carriage, two vehicles going the same direction. You're landing in between them at 60 kph, and this individual is changing position slowly because they are not concentrating on the steering wheel. They are actually reading a newspaper or they are on phone. Others are drinking yogurt, some juice or something. They are getting distracted by something else. So you're putting yourself at the mercy of whatever happens. Nature will be the only thing in between you and death. This driver is not aware of what is going on. The vehicle is shifting position. It's crossing the gap. Others are rude drivers. They will just cross that gap intentionally to stop motorcycles from filtering. It has happened a lot of times. I have seen it going on. Some drivers are very rude. They don't want anybody to escape the traffic. They want to get stuck with everybody. So they are crossing that gap intentionally. Another risk that you do not see coming is the risk of someone jumping from a moving vehicle, especially the PSVs. When the speed goes so slow, someone realizes I was just about to arrive at some 50 meters bus stop from here. I don't want to spend the next 30 minutes here, and I'm just about to get to where I was going. So what they do is they request the driver to slow down. They will jump from a moving vehicle. They will jump from a moving vehicle. And in a normal situation, the passengers will always alight just in front of you. Just in front of you. The passenger doesn't have a side mirror to actually see what is going on from behind. They will just jump from a moving bus and right in front of you. Right in front of you, that passenger will just jump. I have seen it happening. Other people in small vehicles open doors. The driver will just slow down to 0 for 2 seconds for someone to get out. They will open the door, and that door is going to lock your way. You are coming in between vehicles, and this vehicle opens the door, crossing this gap. So you have nowhere to go. You have really nowhere to go. So if you are coming hot at 60, 70 kph, trust me, you never see this coming. You never see it coming. You need to understand that there is no legal basis to explain lane filtering, or whatever you want to call it, lane splitting, lane filtering, which I said they're different. Lane filtering is the safe, slow speed way of escaping traffic in between vehicles. Filtering through traffic, basically. Lane splitting is literally splitting. Literally splitting. You are splitting literally. And that is what I said, it is suicidal. So when you're talking about learning through traffic, I want you to talk about lane filtering, because it is the safest way. Moving between vehicles, change position slowly. Filtering is cutting through. And that is what I said, it is suicidal. So get the difference between lane filtering and lane splitting. There is no legal basis in a lot of countries to explain the legality of this. So even the government doesn't know whether this is legal or illegal. Other road users don't know whether it is legal or illegal. So you are at the mercy of your own safety precautions. Your activities will be your savior. You cannot take this driver anywhere if they hit you when you're running in between vehicles. You cannot take them anywhere. There is no law to protect you. They are not telling you whether this is wrong, but there is no law to protect you. And if you hit a vehicle when you're running through traffic, trust me, you will have to pay them. Whether they moved or they never moved, whatever they did to contribute to what happened, that is your own problem. So you need to understand, you are at the highest risk of losing money and getting hurt. Losing money and getting hurt. So the moment you decide to learn through traffic, you need to understand you are at the mercy of your own safety precautions. Nobody else cares. Sometimes you find very, very good drivers. They will see you struggling to filter through, and they are going to just turn the steering and move the vehicle away so that they can create some space for you. I have seen it, and I always tell them thank you. If you do that, if you do anything to contribute to helping me move faster, I always tell them thank you, because they are not required by law to do anything. Even if they open the door and cross that gap in between, they open the door and cross that gap, there is nothing you can do legally. Nothing. Because we don't have any legal explanation of lane filtering. It is not there in the law. Our transport system doesn't even know what to do with that movement in between vehicles and motorcycles. They don't even know. So you will find hawkers selling stuff on the highway. When the traffic becomes too tight, the vehicles are running so slow, sometimes stopping to 0 for 10 minutes. Hawkers are selling stuff. So if you're running fast in between vehicles, you can end up in prison because of killing a hawker. You could hit someone, throw them under the bus will land them over, they will hold you accountable for what happened. So I want you to understand that you're not legally protected. Some countries like US, we have states that completely prohibit lane filtering. Completely prohibit. I believe even Canada has some places you cannot filter through traffic, and other places where you are allowed to filter through traffic. And drivers know very well that if they see a motorcycle in between the vehicles, they are supposed to create space for that. Some places have legal basis, but a lot of other countries don't. You go to countries like China, you'll find motorcycles have their own lanes in some urban centers. You go to places like India, the same case. You find there are some major cities with lanes where motorcycles and scooters are supposed to use. Those are places that are organized. But a lot of places, especially Africa, we do not even understand what lane filtering is. The transport system doesn't have that in mind. So you are on your own. I'm not telling you to get stuck in traffic. I also don't do that. When I'm driving, I accept. I have to get stuck. When I'm riding motorcycles, which I do a lot of times, I do not get myself stuck in traffic. There are some things you can do. When the traffic gets too tight, look for a safe way of getting away from the vehicles. Get out of there. Because of the same thing I told you earlier, drivers look for reasons to get distracted. Someone is behind you, you are on the same lane, straight line. They are reading newspapers. They do not realize that the vehicle is still moving. They will push you from behind. They will hit you from behind. Others are driving. They see something in front of them. They brake at an emergency, and then you are behind them. If you are not very careful, you will hit them. So getting stuck in traffic with vehicles is also very dangerous. But also, running away from the same traffic can also become a disaster. Lane filtering is different from lane splitting. If you are lane splitting, you are riding suicidal. If you are lane filtering, you are safe. Go to wherever the heck you're going and have a good day. See you around. To Who is Paradise. My name is Meshak. Nataka aje huyu? Bado unataka aje sasa? Nataka tu tuburugane. Nataka tu tuburugane bwana. Aje? Hivi bwana.